Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Patrick. I want to thank everyone for the likes, comments, subscribing. You guys are growing the community. I'm feeling a lot better today. Thank you for all the prayers. And everyone who had prayer requests, I've said prayers for those. If you got any more, make sure you put them in the comments. And everyone as a community, let's lift each other up because these times are just getting harder. I don't know about you guys, but it just seems like every time I'm trying to get ahead or just trying to stay afloat, something happens to try to bring me down. But my faith is in Jesus, and that'll never waver. And with Him, we can just be filled with joy no matter what happens in this world. I was looking at Jeremiah and actually came across something that's new and something very interesting. So I hope that you guys will enjoy this. So let's start. So this is in Jeremiah chapter 52. And if you go to verse 28, it starts with, "This is the people whom Nebuchadnezzar carried away captive in the 7th year, 3,000 Jews in 3 and 20." So this is, Nebuchadnezzar was the leader of Babylonia. So this is after that they took over temple and Jerusalem and they're leading captives away. So it says in the 7th year, we'll put that up here, that he led away 30,023. That number is very key. You can kind of almost see where I'm going with that already. All right, if you keep going, and it says in the 18th year of his reign, he carried away captive from Jerusalem 832 people. So, it says in the 18th year was 832. And then if you keep reading, it says in the 3 and 20th year, so the year 23, he carried away from Jerusalem 745. So 745 in the 23rd year. So I looked at this, and obviously this number caught my attention, the 3023. And if you add up all the number of the captives, we'll go and put that down here, was 4,600. Very interesting number as well. So I started thinking about this. I'm like, I wonder what we can get from this. Well, year 23 and the 745, if you look at them as years, this was the year that King Zechariah had died. He was an evil king. Him and his people worshipped the false god Baal, and he was actually murdered by a captain in his army after only serving a very short time. And then he was king to try to appease the Assyrians. He would tax the wealthy people and pay tribute to the Assyrian king, just to try to prevent him from taking over the northern kingdom in Israel. So it's definitely like a very bad time for Israel, okay? Well, if you go up to 832 BC, and most scholars believe that this is when Solomon built his temple. So you went from that time of Israel to now it's kind of like a new beginning, right? Like, okay, the first temple is going to be built in Jerusalem in 832 BC. Well, I started looking at 3023, and this is obviously the number of completion. So to me, this was like a little micro timeline of Israel from 745 BC to when the first temple is being built until, if you look at this as 2023 going to 2030 as the final 7 years, right? The 7-year tribulation. And obviously 2030 would be the completion, because after that you would have the 1,000-year millennial reign of Jesus Christ in Jerusalem, right? Like the first temple. Well, this is kind of like pointing to like the completion of the everlasting temple, because we won't need the temple anymore because God will be here with us. Well, also very interesting, if you add the 7, the 18, and the 23, you get 48. So this is the year, right? Well, 48 was the year that Israel became a nation. So that was almost like a completion there too. You have the number of completion, but if you add up the years that the captives where Israel was led away, that in 48 they all came back and became a nation, never to be out of their land again. So I thought that was very cool. Well, I also seen the 46. I'm like, wonder what I can do with that. So let's go ahead and erase this. So I was looking at 4,000. I was like, okay. So if we do 2023, actually, I'm sorry, because the completion is actually after the tribulation. So it's 2030. Going back 2,000 years, you come to 30 AD when Jesus was crucified. That's obviously a huge sign. So you got 2,000 here. And if you go another 2,000, you got 2030 BC. And that's when Abraham, we'll put Abraham here, had the covenant from God, right? He was born in 1948. He left to go to the land that God showed him in 2023 BC. And then 7 years later, roughly, he had the covenant of circumcision, right? And he finally completed it. Well, we spent 2,000 years here. We spent 2,000 years going back to Abraham. We got 600 years left. We come right to, pretty close, the flood. And what happened after the flood? God made another covenant with Noah and his family, gave him the rainbow, right? Said, I will never flood the earth again. I destroyed everyone. I kept you. I will never do that again. Obviously, he's going to destroy the world very soon, I think, with fire. And you can find that, I believe, in 2 Peter. There's also other Old Testament prophets that said that this world is reserved for fire. But he said he would never flood the earth again and gave the covenant after the flood. So I thought that was cool that this 4600 is like another timeline within a timeline. So we have the timeline of 2030, which I believe could be the end of the Great Tribulation, the start of the millennial reign. 2,000 years before that, we had Christ dying on the cross. That's our everlasting covenant, right, of salvation. 2,000 years before that, you get Abraham's covenant with God and circumcision. And then all we had left was 600 years. If you go 600 years back from Abraham, roughly, it's not exact, but pretty close, it's the flood and Noah. So I thought that was really cool. And I thought the most important one for us is obviously the year of completion 7. We get 30 and we get 23, right? Only separated by the 7-year tribulation. And before that, you have Solomon building the first temple, 832. That's not just a random number. And then you have 745, meaning an evil king dying, Israel kind of this in a very bad state. They're murdering their own kings. Like king would only last like a month or a couple days, and someone would assassinate him. Then he would take over. Then someone would assassinate him. It was just a bad time to be in Israel. The Assyrians were taking over much of the area around Israel and even taking over some of Israel, and they had to pay to try to prevent them from completely being wiped out. So a bad time for Israel, obviously a better time for Israel. They had, King David and Solomon. After King David, Solomon was going to build the temple, and then you have the year of completion, kind of going from 1948 into the year 2023 and 2030, when the Jews will finally realize who Christ is, that he was their Messiah. So I thought this was like an awesome timeline within another timeline. And that was once again found in Jeremiah 52. Working on a bunch of other stuff, I just happened to see this and started working on it. And I was like, you know what? This is good enough. I got to get this out. I think this is very significant. Thank you for all the likes and comments, subscribing on the last video. Once again, try to do it on this one too. The more we get this out to people, the better. Put your prayer requests in the comments. If anyone is here that's not saved, call on Jesus Christ. Believe on his shed blood on the cross for remission of sins for the entire world, because he's the only way to heaven. Just Google John 14. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So if your salvation is anything other than Jesus, you're not saved. And you will be left here during that 7-year tribulation, the gap. We're thinking it's going to be 2023 to 2030. We don't know, but all signs are pointing that it's going to happen. Oh, and real quick, someone's asking what this red, it's almost like I call it salmon colored. So we got these in Vacation Bible School, and they kind of like randomly just gave us one, and I think mine fits perfectly. It's Psalm 46:10. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." So I think that's a good one for me. It's a good reminder that when I'm getting overworked and I think that I have to like, pray more, do this, do that. Sometimes it's better just to be still, know that God is all knowing. He knows everything. He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere at all times. He already knows what our troubles are. He already knows what we're stressing about. So sometimes it's better just to be still and let him be God, and know, and through faith know that he knows our every need and that he will fulfill them in his perfect way and his perfect timing. So I hope that was a blessing to all of you. Thank you again for growing this channel. You guys, the likes, comments, subscribing really helps this channel. The donations, I never asked for them, but thank you in advance. And if you don't see me again, I'll see you in heaven.